Top Spiritual Ashal, and I'm back with another video today, and I'm going to be discussing with you all Return of the Gods, the ancient gods, Egyptian gods, Anunnaki gods, Sumerian gods, the return of them. You see, over the last month or so, I've gotten some deep information. And I'm not gonna say how I got it, but I received some deep information about not just myself, but people even around me. People speak of the ancestors and the ancestors. People speak of them. But what a lot don't realize is they are them. You are your ancestors. You see, we speak of ancient gods, Thoth, Ra, Enki, Enlil, Nergal, Innanna, Isis, Horus, Anubis. We speak of these things. Sekhmet, Bastet, Hathor. We speak of them. We do. I've seen many people speak of them. But what many don't realize is, I shouldn't get in trouble for saying this. A lot of them are already here on Earth right now. A lot of them are. And people are walking around and they may have ties and connections to these individuals, but they don't know it yet. Now, there's ways that you can find these things out. You can either recall it, or you can have somebody that knows who you are spiritually to reveal it to you. But they're already here. A lot of them are already here, reincarnated. Now, the issue is, people will say, oh, well, if they're reincarnated gods, why can't they do this? Why can't they do that? Make this miracle happen. The way that they were back in Egypt, they're not meant to be that way now. Here's what I mean. You see, back then they stood out greatly because of the things that they could do and the things that they can make come to be. They stood out. They stood out so much that they were revered as gods, when in reality a lot of them weren't gods at all on a cosmic level. But to the modern humans here, they were seen as gods. They were seen as deities because of all the supernatural abilities that they had. But when they start ranking themselves amongst each other and their own pantheons of that is what above them, they're not gods at all. A lot of them were. So they're not meant to be that way now, because they are meant to blend in to an extent, but also stand out without standing out too much and drawing too much attention. So when they incarnated in this life, certain attributes and abilities that they had, they didn't bring that into this one. Or it's dormant within them. It's not accessible. And the reason that it's not accessible for some of them is because they haven't even reached the point where they're allowed to even access certain things. Okay? But even outside of that, it's just not necessary. Not right now. So these gods, a lot of them, that people read up about, that people are so infatuated about, a lot of them are here right now. A lot of them are speaking about spirituality. right now. A lot of them are. But people don't know that's them. They don't. And it's not for everybody to know. So even if you're one of these individuals and you know for a fact that's who you were in your past life, you were this pharaoh, you were this demigod, you were this sun god, you were this moon god. Even if you know these things, it's not just for you to come out and just shout it all to the world. I'm not saying hide it or not be proud of it, but it's not for you to just come out and spew it everywhere for everybody to hear. Because what I see now is I see a lot of people lying. I see a lot of people faking that and saying that they're this and they're that, they're this deity and all that. They're not. It's obvious, honestly, because you can tell most are just saying that from a point of ego to make themselves try to stand out. And this is not a shot to anybody. This is not a shot at anybody. So don't take this that way. But I see people doing that, and they're not that. To each his own, but a lot of them aren't that. But what I can tell y'all, what I know for sure, is that deities that existed, demigods, goddesses, pharaohs, deities that were back then, a lot of them are still here right now, because a lot of them are here to see if they can pass their test. Because certain things they may have messed up in back in Egypt. They may have messed up in back in ancient Sumerian, Lemuria, Atlantis. They might have messed up in certain regards, so they're here now to see if they can finally get it right. See if they can finally get it together. You may think, wow, how can somebody that was a deity or a god still have stuff that they need to learn? Like I told y'all, Earth is a school. Different grade levels. Earth is a school, different grade levels. But those levels can get more challenging and more challenging and more difficult as you go up. Just because a being is a god or a demigod does not mean that they have everything all figured out and they're just this perfect individual. No, they still have flaws. Trust me, they still have flaws. They still have things that they need to work on, things that they need to get together, ranks that they need to achieve. They still have guidelines with what they can and what they cannot do and what they shouldn't do. And some of them went against those guidelines. They had their reasons. They may have had their reasons. But the High Council don't give a damn about your reasons. They don't. To people in the physical, they may be empathetic and sympathetic towards them, but the real high-ups don't. The real high-ups are not. They don't care. So when it comes down to it, these reincarnated demigods and goddesses and pharaohs and kings, many of them still have things that they need to work on, things that they need to do. So when you go looking back to Sumerian or back to Egypt and you're researching these gods, Marduk, Amun-Ra, Atum-Ra, Kef-Ra, Ra, all the same deity, different faces. You look up Enki, Enlil, Nabu, Nergal, Bastet, Sekhmet, Hathor, Ma'at, Horus, Isis, Tahuti/Thoth, Ninlil. When you look into them, have an understanding, and what I'm telling you is not for you to believe, but for you to have an understanding that a lot of them I won't say a lot, but I say a good few are here right now, walking around, may not even realize who they are, because who they are in the now don't realize who they were in the past. I'll say that again. Who they are in the now does not realize who they were in the past, by design. But people are going to start waking up to who they once were. And when you do that, this is important. Find out who you were, but don't let it completely erase who you are now. I'm gonna say it again. Find out who you were. Don't let that completely erase who you are in the now. Okay? Don't just fully fall back into that old identity of that past life, because that life is done. It's done. You're in a new one now. You have a new identity now. I'm not saying forget that. Don't acknowledge that happened in the past. No. But don't let that erase who you are now. Don't get so caught up in that. Back then, okay, you might have been this individual. You might have been this being. That you become stagnant and stuck looking back instead of moving forward. Don't let that happen. Because when you let that happen, that shows those that are watching you that you are not capable of handling memories, handling past experiences. Because if you see these things, or you recall these things, they're going to make you more stuck. They're going to do more harm to you than to push you forward. You understand what I'm saying? That right there is something that they pay attention to. I see people, they say they want to learn about past lives, who they once were. I get it, I understand it. I get the fascination. But a lot of people aren't ready for what they're asking for, even if they may not realize it in that moment. All right? This is a school. And you would be surprised who's in this school that you may have known in a past life and that you have been researching now and looking back on. You may be, what? He's here? On Earth, what? Helping the 5D Ascension? Him? No way. No way he's here. I just read about him. I just read about him. You would be surprised. You would be. This mass awakening that's happening right now, it's not by half a stance. This is by design. Sad part is this. There are those who I know and who I've known in the past. And I was around them when they were at their high in Egypt. There are those that I know back then. I watched that Pharaoh at his highest. And now, in this life, he's at his lowest he's ever been. I have known members of my star lineage in past lives, seeing how we were then and looking at how they are now, and they are at their lowest. Why did I bring that up? I said that a lot of these beings and gods, or a good bit of these beings, demigods, goddesses, kings, pharaohs, they're here now. There's a good bit of them that are failing this life in terms of their spiritual growth. They're failing this grade. They are. You have those that they're doing what they need to do. They're moving. They're getting it together. But you have those that are failing. You have those here right now that have allowed themselves to be turned against their counterpart. What do I mean? You have those who lived in a time period where the male and female bond was recognized and symbolized as the most important essence of life, symbolized by the Ankh. You have those who live that day, and here they are now in this life, screaming how they don't need a man. Failing. Failing. Goddesses in a past life, back in such a prosperous time for copper race individuals. And here they are now, screaming to the top of their lungs how they don't need a man. They think in their mind that. Let me tell you something. And this is real blunt, this is the truth. If it's in your, ladies, if it's in your spiritual, if it's in your mind that you don't need a man, if that's your mindset, you're going to fail this lifetime. That's blunt. If that is your mindset and that's in your mind that you don't need a man, regardless what you've been through, does not matter. If you allow your experiences to turn you completely against your counterpart, you will fail this life spiritually. You might check some boxes. Okay, she did this, she did that, she did this, but this right here, she failed that. Failed. Gotta repeat. Men, same way. If you allow yourself to be turned against your counterpart, against copper race women, as a copper race man, you're gonna fail this life. I know there's toxic individuals out here. Trust me, I know, I get it, and I understand. But there's still good copper race women over here. There's still good copper race men over here. Don't let your experiences and you falling into a victim mentality cause you to completely turn against your kind, because you will fail this life. Ain't no way around it. You will fail this life if you allow yourself to be turned against your counterpart. It's honestly embarrassing to see so many copper race women speak about Egypt and all that stuff, and then I be seeing some of them say they don't need men. It's embarrassing to see some men say how they're from this dynasty, and then they're this king, they're this pharaoh, all these things. Seeing men say this stuff, and I see how they treat women in this lifetime. That's embarrassing. You see, when you truly start recalling these things, you start remembering who you are, these dynasties that you were tied to, these star lineage that you're tied to, it should alter how you move for the better. Because you should feel like it's even more of a responsibility to be an upright individual based off of who you were. I'm not saying you're gonna be perfect. Don't misunderstand that. I'm not saying that. But it's melanated beings on this earth, copper race individuals, that I'm speaking about. And if you want to go black, you can use that term. On this earth right now, that have allowed themselves to be turned against each other. Completely. Screaming to the top of their lungs they don't need each other. If you look at this world, do it look like we don't need each other? Be real. You need a man. You need a woman. You do. Take one of us away and society crumbles. That's how it goes. This feminist and this feminism bullshit has been pushed so far into y'all head that it's taking you away from what you are. And that's a failure on your part. No excuses. That's a failure on your part. On your part. So if you can't even at least acknowledge that you need your counterpart, you will fail this life. Does not matter what God you once were. It does not matter what goddess you once were. That does not matter. You will fail this life. And I've already seen it happen to individuals before. And trust me when I tell you this, personal experience from the past has taught me as well. Not in this life. So, we speak about the gods and the deities and all of them coming back. A good bit of them are already here. And some of you, not all, some of you are them. But don't claim you're something that you aren't sure of, because then you start living in an illusion and a false reality. Don't do that. If you don't know, you don't know. Be comfortable not knowing, because you knowing is the impossible. If you believe, you settle, thus you will never know. Who you really are is going to start coming to y'all. I assure you that. It is. It's going to start coming to y'all. It's going to be crystal clear. Because that's the time that we're moving in now. We've been through the prep phase. That was 2020 to 2023. I say 2022. Action started in 2023. Revelation, and I'm not speaking on the Bible sense. Revelation is what's happening right now. Who you really are, who y'all really are, will be revealed to you if it's for you to know. Not everybody has even earned that ability and earned the right to know. But those of you that's been working, those of you that's been true, who you are is going to be revealed to you. That I can assure you. Can't force it. Have patience, and it will align itself with you. So when we speak again on these ancient gods, these goddesses, I ain't even mentioned Innanna / Ishtar. We speak of them. Good bit of y'all are here. Good bit of them are here right now. Still got stuff to learn. And some are living an important life that's setting them up for their next lifetime. Some are prepping for future wars. Some are trying to, I ain't gonna say that. Some are trying to find certain things that are important to their lineage. That's what I'll say. Okay? This is a very, very important planet. This is a very, very important time. Have fun. Stay aware of the destination you're trying to reach. All right. Anyways, remember, we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. Hope you all enjoyed this video. The ancient gods, goddesses, kings, and pharaohs. A good bit of y'all are them. A good bit of them are here. 5D. Ascension. That's the time. This is the place to be in this solar system. This is the place to be. This is the place to be in this galaxy to make one of the biggest differences that you can make on any planet you ever go to. Because here's the last thing I'll say. Those of you that are here in that past, you're going to be looked at as like legends. Because one day, this earth is going to be gone. And it's going to be like it never existed. And a lot of people ain't going to even know that it ever existed. A lot of entities that they're not even going to know. They'll might research it, read about it. They might get taught about it in class, in the spirit realm, but they never experienced it. They never been there. It's just like how people may read about Egypt in this lifetime. You can read about it, but you haven't been there. It's different once you're there. The person that's talking about it or teaching about it may have not necessarily been there either. But when you find somebody that was there, on this ancient planet, Earth, oh man, what was Earth like? Man, it was like this, what? No way. They thought they was the only life. A lot of them thought they was the only life in the universe. What? They had free will? What? They had to forget who they are when they come in? What? All these are stories. These are stories that others that haven't been here and that never will be will want to know. And you're going to be seen as a legend telling these stories about Earth and about this 5D ascension. You are. That's how it's going to be. Some of you may go on in next lifetimes and inscribe certain things for others to read about Earth. This planet will not be forgotten by those that have been here. And it will not be forgotten by those who haven't been here, because their fascination will always want to know how it was here. How it was here. You look at Mars, it's like nothing was never on Mars, but it was a thriving civilization there with the Anunnaki. Marduk was there. The Enki were there. They had spaceports. They had a Tower of Babel, running water, societies, pyramids. They had these things. But look at that planet now. It's like a wasteland. Same thing for this planet. And even more so once the sun becomes big enough and completely engulfs it, and it's gone. It's gone. Last thing I'll say is this. Imagine researching about a planet that's no longer there. See how cool that sounds? See how eerie that sounds? How trippy that sounds? Man, yeah, this planet right here, man, it was this and it was that. And you look, man, there ain't even no planet in that solar system no more. Oh yeah, it's gone now. See how that sounds? That's how it's gonna be. That's how it's gonna be. So, anyways, thank you all for watching. Big responsibilities. A lot of y'all have. Big responsibilities. I told y'all it was 12 cosmic bloodlines on this earth. 12. And each one of them has a special individual that's meant to push that bloodline forward. And those specific individuals are tasked with a lot and are going to have a lot revealed to them. But it's responsibility when it comes to that. Not everything you're told you can speak on. Not everything you're told you can reveal. It's just for you to know. Not for everybody else. It's for you to know. For you to have an understanding. To benefit you spiritually. Not everybody else. Thank y'all for watching. Remember, we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. Thai spiritual Ashal signing out. And like the Navi say in Avatar, I see you until we meet again. Simple.